Okay, we're against the pink background this time.
That's right.
We just
I have a new hat.
And a new hat. Always a new hat in every one of these videos.
Right.
Daniel, we just got out of watching War for the Planet of the Apes.
And this is significant for Assumptions because I don't know if you remember, but we
I do
watched
remember.
Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and then we went to my house and recorded an episode that was never released.
I think
this
I-
was in 2014.
I think I released it in the whatever this
That's
is
right.
stream.
Maybe.
But
But
it was kind of a pilot
It
almost
was
to what
just for us to
Assumptions
see,
would be.
and it turned into Assumptions. So this trilogy has a lot of weight for Assumptions. and us.
Yeah. Honestly, and I mean it, like, I feel like I really want to sit down and unpack this movie a lot more than what probably 7 minutes is going to allow us to do.
That's right.
I have at least a dozen things I think I could rattle off about what I would like to delve in a little bit
A
deeper.
dozen hot takes right here.
A dozen hot
Yeah.
takes. Read my blog. You'll see what I'm
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about. But we won't.
No.
But
It's
we
common
really,
to have a
we
blog.
really should sit down and maybe talk about the entire series at some point. Maybe
That'd
as
be
a
cool.
bonus
Yeah, that'd be
episode.
cool, yeah.
This is the one question I want to ask you, and I know you have something to ask me.
Right.
Okay.
Can we just talk before we go into the
Yes.
questions? I just want to mention that I think this is the most. Your phone's tilting again. I think
I'm
this
so-
is
I'm
one of the
sorry.
most beautiful, probably the most beautiful film in the trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
There's this imagery that involves a lot of smoke and fire and white and water is involved in this a lot. I really enjoyed it in 3D. I know you don't usually like that.
Yeah,
but I thought it was.
Whatever. It was fine in
Yeah.
3D. So this is the first time that I've actually really recognized the music in the series. There's very clever allusions to the original Planet of the
Okay.
Apes, which
I
I thought
haven't
was
seen, yeah.
really, really great.
That's cool.
And really well done. There's actually a lot of allusions as far as names that they bring up and
Okay.
what and yeah, little allusions
But
to
man, this
that
is
classic series.
It's a dark film. Like it's inventive. It constantly
Yeah.
keeps you guessing.
Dark, but I actually think it's kind of hopeful at the end. So interestingly enough,
Okay,
I think
why
it
is
actually.
that?
I think it actually. Well, I don't want to spoil
Oh,
it for
fair
the
enough,
viewing
okay.
audience and stuff
Okay.
here. We'll talk about that off camera. Just even the very ending shot. I think
Sure.
it's really
Yeah.
reaching up to the heavens to kind of give that hopeful message. Here's my question for you as a
Yeah.
Christian.
Yeah.
You are still a Christian, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm wondering how you look at war, and specifically for your own ideals. Meaning, do you agree that it is necessary? It's a necessary evil of humanity on this plane. Do you think that war is ever the answer?
I think that if you look at the message of the gospel, the message of Christ, he gives himself away. That's he literally dies, and even though he's right, so he has this very self-giving model that I think as Christians we're to take on. What that looks like in just war scenarios, I don't know. I haven't been through that, and I support World War II fighting the Nazis. Like there's that. But I think if you look at the Christian message of the gospel fundamentally, it is going to change how that gut human instinct, which is to fight back and to protect your own. I think that it transforms that. It says our protection comes from something else, but we give ourselves away in order to live.
My reading of this film is that it is called War for the Planet of
It's
the
a
Apes.
war
There's
film.
a lot of war imagery. There's
Yeah.
a lot of war talk
Yeah.
in this. But I think that the resounding message, at least that I came away from, is how corrupting hate is. And essentially, the main struggle of our main character,
Yeah.
Caesar, is to overcome hate in his life.
Does you think he
see-
does? Like he obviously in the end, I think he gets
I think at the
there.
very end he does
But
get there.
how is there a significant twist that changes it for him?
Well, yes, but again, that's kind of spoilery.
Okay.
But I think that there's a lot of imagery. I was actually thinking about this when I was watching this, because I rewatched Passion of the Christ here a few months ago.
I've never seen.
And actually, there's a lot of similarities to it, because in there, Christ is kind of not chased, but he constantly has images of basically Satan kind of
Right.
following him around as he's going through, like being whipped and tortured
Yeah.
through his final hours.
And in this
on,
film, Caesar is literally
is-
whipped and crucified.
Right,
So
yeah,
that
literally.
is-
I mean,
yeah.
it's not an actual cross, it basically
No,
should be.
it's- Yeah, it's a.
But he's
actually-
also being chased by this dark demon of his past.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought it was interesting allusions. I mean, this is very much of a Western religious imagery that I
Yeah.
think this movie falls into, but I think there's a lot more that you can read into that too.
Yeah, so I was going to ask about. I think this film is essentially a pro-life film, by which I mean in the
Right.
sense that there's the evil character, the Colonel,
Yeah.
the human character. He has a scene where he describes how there's people in his camp that are, including his son, that are starting to go mute and they're starting to go crazy. So they're essentially no longer valued as human anymore. And it's very hard for him. He says, but for the greater good, I'm going to give up these people. I'm going to kill them for that. And then there's my favorite character in the whole film, aside from Maurice.
Yeah,
the monkey.
Maurice is always my
Maurice is always
favorite.
the best. But is the mute girl that they adopt and take along, because she is mute herself. She's fallen into the sickness, and yet she is one of the most humane characters of everyone in that film. And so I guess the question is, in the Colonel's mind, is do you sacrifice those that are inherently useless, even for the greater good?
Yeah.
Or is there something valuable about that life, that humanity in that sense?
This is terrible argumentation, but I'm about to use it, which is I think that's a very slippery slope if you start going down like for the greater good, because you can really subvert that to do terrible things.
Hitler did.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we're always going to talk about Nazis on this show.
Oh yeah. We should call it a Nazi podcast.
I think you're right, though. I think that this movie really showcases humanness and what it means to be human. And yes, they're showing apes, but I'm going to call them people in this film as well. I think they're shown to be just as corrupt in their own biases
potential for good
and potential for good and potential for evil and corruption and stuff like that. So I think it is really trying to show. Actually, the key line for me that there's a scene between two apes, and somewhat of a spoiler, so skip over this if you don't want to, but in the very first couple of minutes you see that there's certain apes that are on the human side, which actually was like a big shock to me. I was like, oh, I was not expecting that to be in here. But there's a part where there's two apes on opposing sides where Caesar asks them, like, is there any part of you left to save? And I thought that was such an interesting line. It's like, is there... Do we believe that there are people that cannot be saved whatsoever? Is there no humanity left in them? Or is there always going to be that shred left? And I think that that's an interesting topic to delve into at some point.
I think the answer, for me, just a Christian, is yes, there is always
and
something
it would be for
there.
me too. I think that there's always something there that can be saved.
We can be friends. There's something you can say about ourselves now, because we can both agree. There's something you mentioned as we were walking over to see the film. You said that the best science fiction twists the world into a looking glass, as it were, in order to help us see things clearer. And that's what this whole series, especially the last two, have done. So if you haven't seen the other two, go watch it, and I recommend seeing this film.
Definitely do. And I would say that
in 3D.
For me, I really would watch the first two films first. It's going to fill in a lot of gaps that this movie just kind of expects you to know about. So definitely do that. I am calling it we should do a bonus episode on this entire series.
Called it.
This is Assumptions.
I'm
My name's
Daniel.
Kyle. This is Daniel. We have a podcast. You can find that on Google Play. You can find that on iTunes.
Podcasts.
You're hopefully watching this on
SoundCloud.
Facebook, so you can go and like us on that page, and you can send us.
If you've seen it, nobody has done this yet for any of our film videos. But if you've seen it, please let us know what you think.
Yeah.
And what questions you might have for either of us based on it.
All right. Have a good one.
Bye.